Every shoot should be 1% better. Like you should be 1% better in your attitude and your skills, and there's always room for improvement.
You get in the industry, you start getting jobs, but then how do you essentially get to the next level where you start getting, clients like Reebok?
You can teach good skills, but you can't teach good character.
So that's interesting, right? I think let's go a little deeper on it. This week's episode is brought to you by One Shot. One Shot's for photographers and videographers into sports and street culture. So if this sounds like you, it's time you checked out the online community. The One Shot online community features regular challenges, networking opportunities, giveaways, online education from myself to help you frame your dream. And guess what? It's free. So you can be located anywhere in the world and you can join this community. All you got to do is click the link in the description below and I'll catch you in there. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Rush. Today's guest is the YouTube sensation, Simon Kim.
What's up, man? How you doing?
How you doing, bro? Good to see you.
Good, bro.
Welcome back to the country.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been it's been a while since it's not even that been a while. It's like 4 weeks, but it's definitely been the longest time I've been away, like as an adult. Yeah.
You were just in the Philippines and Korea, right?
Yeah. So I spent like 10 days in Korea and then like 3 weeks in the Philippines. Yeah.
Awesome. Look, man, I'm super excited to have you on the show because you've recently got into YouTube and it's blowing up. When I say blowing up, like we'll get into all the details, but when you're starting, it's even hard to get 10 subscribers. And you've hit over 1,000. You're getting a lot of traction on your videos. So I'm really, really curious to dive into the YouTube space and see how you're finding it. But before we get into that, what I always find interesting is how creatives like to label themselves. So let's just say, I met you at a cafe and I was like, oh, hey, bro, like, what do you do? How would you like to introduce yourself?
I would internally say I hate this question because I've spoken to a few mates about it, and I think a lot of us really hate it because it's like an ongoing, internal battle. Like how you want to be. I mean, even for the non-creative person, like how do you want to be seen in the world, right? How do you want to be identified? So it's kind of like an existential question without being too deep. And then when someone asks me that, I want to say this, but I know I'm not that yet. So I have to say this, and it kind of like hurts you a little bit because like you're not there yet. But it's kind of just it's like that's a question I gotta answer to like almost every time you meet someone new. But also it's like it's not that deep. It's also not that deep. So I would say I'm a photographer and a videographer. But what I'd like to be eventually is just a director of photography, a cinematographer. But occasionally still do photography because I still really love that. But at the moment, I think, photographer, videographer is how I go about just answering that question. Yeah.
So that's interesting, right? I think let's go a little deeper on it. Why don't you feel like you've got the confidence to give the title that you deserve? Because your work's amazing.
I mean, you know what? I appreciate that, man. Like, I think it's on two fronts, right? Like, it's one on, I believe on honest accreditation. Like, for sure, like I could start labeling myself as a DP, right? But can I wake up next morning saying that I'm proud to be that when I haven't really done the work on so many respected DPs that I follow? Like these guys have done the work from ground up on sets and produce actual DP work and been credited as that. Whereas that, like me, on the other hand, I'm a videographer, meaning top to tail, full service, right? Like you handle everything, like even admin, which is fine. But I don't feel comfortable personally labeling something that I'm truly not. Do you know what I mean? Out of respect for myself and out of respect of DPs that I follow. So that's kind of where it more so comes out of. Like if and when I build the skills enough and learn the things I need to become a DP, I would definitely feel more confident and comfortable saying that I am this or that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Because I guess it's an interesting time, right? Particularly, say with Instagram, when you go on someone's profile and it's like entrepreneur, like film director, and then you look at their work and you're like, I'm not sure like if that fits the title. But I guess on one hand too, I'm also about dreaming big, aiming high, and putting it out there to the world that you're this thing. Like, so I guess when would you feel comfortable having that title? Is it like a particular job that you do, or is it someone saying like, you know, that you look up to, like, oh, Simon, like for sure, bro, like you're this.
I think if there's a streamline of consistency where I am being I guess like approached for jobs that are more DP orientated. So it's like a crew or a director asking me to form a relationship with them or come on a production crew and act as that role. If there's a consistency in that, I think that I'd be much more comfortable and confident in saying that, like, yeah, I'm a working DP. But right now, that's really not the case. So I wouldn't be comfortable doing that. To that point, I think there's like a fine line in that where people can attest to think that's manifestation. But then there's also a dangerous line where that goes into like faking till you make it. And then that also is another dangerous line of like you becoming a fake person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I've met a handful of people where it's, you know, you will say this, like I'm this, when you're truly not at the moment. And I've been guilty of that for sure. And that's okay if you are working towards that goal and if you're still truly like maintaining like yourself and you're not like becoming a different person just because you've suddenly built these stages of ego because you're now like a film director or like a producer when you're actually not. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And just to throw a spanner in the works, you've got the YouTube element kicking in.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this is the thing, right? I'm not sure how you feel about this, but I know when I got into YouTube, I was always like, oh man, is this like a little corny, like a YouTuber? But now I think being in the YouTube space is like the dopest thing ever.
Yeah.
Would you ever want to label yourself as like a YouTuber? Like, or is it, how does it feel?
Probably not, but if someone claimed to, like during the photography exhibition I did like before I left, like a lot of people came through YouTube. So like it'd be absolutely wrong for me to bag on that, you know what I mean? Like I'm very grateful that people from watching something that I didn't really mean to grab too much attention from came through and was able to see work that I want people to see. Then that's like, wow, that's like a really beautiful avenue that people can utilize. I think out of respect for, you know, the YouTubers that have been doing it for a minute, like you can't have a bag on an avenue that people really, you know, work full time on and it's a business. I think like 10 years ago, people would be like, oh, YouTuber. And then you'd kind of like flinch a little bit. But nowadays, like, you know, kids dream to be YouTubers now. It's like an actual job, you know. But I think because it's such a broad avenue, you can use it as a hobby. You can use it as like creative expression. You can use it as a full-time business. For me right now, like I'm very junior in this space. So it's like, for me, it's just like a really fun kind of way to express a different alter ego, I guess. Yeah.
Now, before we get into the YouTube space, what came first for you? Because you do photography, videography,
yeah,
and you know now YouTuber. What was first?
Photos was first. So I picked up first digital camera when I was like 15, and yeah, I was just kind of like very I'm a very, very curious person, and at the time I really just liked the editing side, like being able to take a photo and then you can kind of like make it into all these different colors and processes and then upload it. And like I'd be lying if the validation at 15 during high school wasn't great. Like it was awesome. You know what I mean? Like at school, you're finding yourself and then all of a sudden you get all this like likes and people saying like they love your photos. So it's like, hell yeah, like this is awesome. Like I'm gonna keep doing this. But I think that grew and evolved into something where it's like I appreciated the art when I kept doing it and following my mates, and it became something very valuable for me, where once I graduated, we looked back at those photos and like that time, a very precious time. You go to high school once, and we look at these times, like these sporting events and things like that, where like, you know, we became really close to each other. And yeah, like I was able to capture that, and I think that was really special for me. But yeah, to answer your question, like I picked up the camera when I was 15. Yeah.
Okay, so you're 15 years old, you're getting that validation at school, but then at what point do you go, wait a minute, I want to turn this into a career?
Oh, man, I mean, this is, so like I graduated 2017 in Brisbane. At that time, it was very much like clubbing videos and like doing videos for events and like small businesses. There were like those cats that were doing weddings and still to this day doing really good weddings and like campaign videos, but it's not as saturated as it is now. The avenues for where you publish videos was Facebook. Like that was it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like everything was going towards Facebook. I was really lucky where an old boy of my school like approached me and it essentially kind of became my mentor. He like taught me the business side and like, this is how you can make money. And I was like, damn, you can make money? I didn't know you could do that. Like that's cool. And then he showed me like, he was working at this agency with a bunch of other old boys and they were pretty much just, you know, advertising, marketing, making money out of doing content. So me, like, you know, year 12, I'm thinking, wow, this is really cool. Like, this is a cool avenue. I'd put down wanting to do film in uni anyway. So it just made sense. Like all the stars kind of aligned. So yeah, I started interning there as an editor. And I was editing a lot during my off time. So yeah, I kind of just would go there like once or twice a week and just intern for them. And then this opportunity came. I graduated school and then he was like, there's a music festival called Falls Festival in Byron Bay. It's a New Year's festival, so we'll go over the New Year's. Do you want to come? And, you know, you could do like, I'll do the photography and you could do the video. He's saying this to me, like I'll do video, he'll do photo. And yeah, we'll have a good time. I was like, damn, like I've never been to a music festival before. Never shot at a music festival before. I've shot like one maybe mediocre music video. Yeah, fuck it, like whatever, you know. And I didn't know how much. I think at the time it was like $750, but I'd never been paid for a job. Like I'd been paid for a bunch of like photography. During high school I was doing like photography event jobs, just like parties and whatnot. But this was like a proper like video, I guess like campaign thing that I was getting paid for. So yeah, I was like fully excited. So yeah, we drove down to Byron and then yeah, it was an experience, man. It was an experience. And it was interesting to convince my parents like I'm going here and then getting paid this amount and whatever and doing. And I think that was kind of like the kickstart of like trying to not convince, but like show them this is the avenue that I want to go through. So yeah, that was the thing that kind of kicked off our relationship together. And the experience that we had then, you know, both the lows and highs of that journey was like brought us really close together. And then from the new year, so 2018, we kind of just joined arms and we worked together freelance for like 2 years from that point. Yeah.
Awesome. So you're freelancing full time for that 2 years?
Yeah, I mean like full time, I guess, but like living at home. So it's like, I guess it is full time because I'm doing nothing else.
Yeah.
But like I was still living at home. I didn't have any other job. I've never known any other job. So yeah, I was living at home and just doing jobs that popped up and I did it with him. So he would typically have a photography job. They would need video. So I would come and then I would edit because he didn't really love editing. And then we kind of worked in tandem for a lot of things. And then I would get some jobs just for, you know, my own business, I guess. And then, yeah, that's kind of how I rocked it for those 2 years. Yeah.
And I know a big question for a lot of people is, you know, you get in the industry, you start getting jobs, but then how do you essentially get to the next level where you start getting, you know, clients like Reebok and working with well-known brands and, you know, these people in the industry? Did that happen once you came to Melbourne, or is it, I guess like, was it the move that helped that?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no wrong or right way, right? Like, I think that's like it's a question that people want to know. Like, how do you get to here when I'm like over here? And that's like something I ask about myself all the time. But what I think I can look back on and reflect on and like attest to is people, good people. You know, people will show up if you're a good person, and that good energy will attract more good energy, better energy than yourself. And like people will show up, man. Like when I came to Melbourne, like I only knew like 2-3 people, and I already had a full-time job lined up just to have one, and so I could get an apartment.
In the video world? Or?
Yeah, like an agency, and the role was videographer, so I needed it obviously just for the money and getting an apartment. So I had that for the year, but what I was doing pretty much every other night or every other weekend was networking. And that's not networking like going to big creative meetups. Like I'm not really a big fan of that personally. Like I was going to exhibitions, so people who are in the local space and doing local shit, you know what I mean? So I was going to these exhibitions And like my friend that I knew, he would bring me to these spots, and then he would just be like, hey, this is Simon, and chat. It kind of became like, from that event we saw each other at the other events, and that next event we saw those same people, and then that relationship grew and grew. And I think because that relation fostered, those people recommended me to and sort of referred me to other people, and that kind of kept going. So from the year I moved here, for the next 2 years, while I was bouncing full-time jobs, I was doing that every night, almost every other weekend, messaging people for coffee. Not for the sake of like getting jobs or wanting jobs. It was more just, I know in the long run, if all goes to shit, at least you're going to have people beside you, right? So, and there were times where it all went to shit, but I had people beside me, and those people very gracefully referred me to jobs, or like when they weren't able to do a job, they recommend me. So I think like if I didn't have the really good circle and community that I have here, I don't think I'd be anywhere close to like getting Reebok. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm so pleased that you've brought this up, because this is one thing I try and teach people about, is networking and your communication skills are so important. You know, like as an example, Simon turned up on time today, you know, a lot of creatives don't.
Yeah.
So you've turned up on time, you know, you're great with your communication, and you know, obviously are very good with your networking. So, I mean, you can be like literally like the best, you know, cinematographer or photographer, but if you're not a good person, people aren't going to want to work with you.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. That's something I attest to, like, and I talk to a lot of my mates about as well, is like, you can teach good skills, but you can't teach good character. And that's something my mentor told me as well. Like, you know, if I suddenly, you know, become poor tomorrow, right? And I don't know, like I get into an accident and tomorrow I have no skills, someone can teach me that. But I feel like as long as I have good attitudes and a good behavior and a good approach to like my work and the people around me, I feel like that's always going to sustain you for as long as you want. Because I don't know, it could be, I think it's wrong for me to say that I could be in this forever. Like no one saw COVID coming, right? So like what if at 40 I retire and want to become like a, I don't know, barista or something, and start a cafe, you know, even lose more money, you know what I mean? But like, I think the core of it is having a good attitude and a good character and approach to things, where it can be transferable to any skills. Because anyone can learn soft technical skills, but it's just, are you willing to like stay up till 3 a.m. and like put those skills to use and read books to like, I don't know, like, you know, elevate your character and not just become this person that's got ego and think they're better than everyone else and let that go, you know.
Oh, that's great, man. Because I've seen on your Instagram too, like you're into health and fitness, and you seem like you're developing like a well-balanced lifestyle. Because I think this is one thing I've definitely learned over the years. Like being in this industry, it's a lot of hard work. Yeah. But you also need to look after your health and fitness too. Yeah. Is that one thing that you are investing a lot of time and energy into? I
think it's just I've always done a lot of sports since I was younger, so it's kind of like, when there's like, when there's like even a week, I just don't move my body. Like it feels like I feel stiff. And I think that, you know, when you exercise, you relieve stress, and stress can just clench you up in every single way. So obviously when I was over on holiday, I couldn't really exercise much, but you know, we're out and about and island hopping, and like that relaxed me. But when I'm here and when you're freelancing, I feel like you're constantly stressed about not getting the next job. So I think things like running or exercising like helps relieve that. And it just, if you want to live longer, you got to exercise, man. Yeah.
Yeah, so important. Okay, let's dive into your recent shoot with Reebok. Well, firstly, what was your role with Reebok, and what were you doing exactly? And we'll go more into the creative process as well.
So let me think. So Reebok came about. So the way Reebok came about was, the first shoot was a friend of mine named Emily. She Emily Seif. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Shout out to Emily. She's a director, and she brought me on to, because I had a few coffees with her beforehand. And I was like, you know, like if there's anything on set, like I'd love to help out, blah, blah, that sort of thing. And then she graciously was like, we have this really big campaign that's come through from Reebok. This DP named Shaki, who I knew as well, and I loved his work. He's going to be DPing it. I'm directing it. We'll love you to photograph the campaign. I was like, hell yeah, I'm definitely going to be a part of this. This was early like February this year, like something like that. Like it was hot. It was like a 37-degree day.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. I remember it being really, really hot. But I was just like, yeah, 100%. Like I would love to come. Reebok's a cool big brand, obviously, and I love working with them, but it was more just like being able to work with these kind of people. That was what I was really, really excited about. So yeah, I came through, and then I was a photographer there, and it was a really tight turnaround. Like I'm talking like in the next 2 days. Yeah. And so I had to essentially edit all the photos, and there were a lot of different requirements for aspect ratios, because it was gone over point of sale and like digital ads and whatnot, and different on a bunch of concept stores. Same with video too. So it was crunch time for everyone. But I think what they appreciated was, I guess, my energy and efficiency. So yeah, I got a call back like a couple of months after, saying that they had like a photo shoot. They needed a photo shoot for like one of their gym line sneakers. So yeah, they just kind of shot me an email and said, hey, like, remember you from that last shoot, and yeah, we appreciate your work then, so we'd love to shoot you if you're interested. So yeah, I did that one, and then I guess, I don't know, they liked me enough to take me to another one, and then back. Yeah, so.
And also, how does the creative process work, right? So let's just say you get the phone call from Emily, and then what happens after that? You know, do you sit down and you do mood boards? Have they already got a game plan and you're working with, you know, what they've put together, or do you have input as well? I mean, I know every job's a little different, but for Reebok specifically.
Yeah, that job specifically. So we had a few different calls. I probably didn't have as many calls as the video department did, because I was very much like, for each location and for each portion of the shoot, I had about 5 minutes to shoot the photographs. So it was very much like a video orientated shoot. So me knowing that, I had to kind of prep myself, and like, once we're here, we're locking in, like have like a set of 5 different scenarios you're ready to shoot, and anything else is a bonus, because it's a national wide campaign. You're not here to mess around. And there's like a crew of like 10 people. So everyone's working to supplement the video side. So you better make sure as a photographer on this kind of environment, you're not messing around, you're in and out. So I think that was really key. So for the planning side, Emily did a lot of really good bulk work in like kind of already having a vision in terms of what the vibe should be, and the mood and the tone of voice. So that definitely helped me. And obviously, like, because we had a really great gaffer, and Shaki had set up the shots really well enough where the lighting was set up video wise. So I didn't have to do too much work into coming in. There were definitely different portions where, like, you know, I see something, I'm like, look, I think this is the distinction, right, between someone that's maybe a little bit more experienced and someone who is junior, is the apprehension to like say something. Because for me, right, like, if we had said model there and you're given like even 30 seconds, would you rather not have that shot and then suffer the consequences later, wasting people's time and money and not having a shot there for the campaign that's crucial for something that a brand is paying you for? Or could you say to the director and the producer, could you give me like 2 minutes? Give me 2 minutes and I can just get this shot for you, and then I'll be out of your hair. And for them, 2 minutes, obviously time is money, but they'd appreciate you making that stand to actually say, like, nah, this shot's important to me. Like, I know we've got a big crew here, but there's a reason you guys hired me, and there's a reason I'm here. So let me take the 2 minutes out of my time and your time to make this shot. And if I didn't get the shot out of those 2 minutes, that's on me. But if I get the shot, then everyone else is happy. You know what I mean? Definitely. So that was kind of my process into it. My thinking is to like do the best I can. If there's something I really like, I'm gonna try to go for it. If we're really running out of time, and there were some instances where like, nah, just not gonna work, then that's cool. Like, not gonna push on it. I gave my piece, try to make it work. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Yeah.
I mean, this is really interesting that you've brought this up, because when you're on these sets,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of money involved.
Yeah.
People don't realize, if they've never been in a campaign like this, like time is so crucial.
Yeah, every second.
Every second. But I think this is great. The fact that you've even got that confidence to say that. Do you feel, is this like one of the first times that you've been in a situation like that? Or
No. I think, you know what it is? It's like you learn from your mistakes, right? And if you don't learn from your mistakes, just like stay home. Because if you're going to go on every shoot and make the same mistake you did the previous shoot, no one's going to want to hire you. No one's going to be around you. And I think if you made a clone of yourself, you shouldn't be around yourself either, because every shoot should be 1% better. Like you should be 1% better in your attitude and your skills, and there's always room for improvement. So I think that's where it comes from, is me making, excuse my language, but fuck ton of mistakes. Like making mistakes all the time. Like just because you're super experienced doesn't mean you won't forget an SD card on the shoot. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, but it's always trying to make the effort to improve. So for me, it's seeing those times where I've been in an edit and like seeing, oh man, if I just took 2 minutes or like 3 minutes just to ask, I could have filled all these gaps. But now instead I've got to fill it with transitions or black screens or whatever it is, which is fine. But you could have added so much more of yourself in depth if you just got those shots. And it's that kind of regret that you don't want to have on the next one, right? So for me, it was just, it's making sure, and if these people, if they understand that, they will say yes to you. If someone continually keeps saying, no, stop butting in, then fuck, all right. Well, if it ends up being bad, that's on you. I tried, I did my piece, right? But if they're willing to accept you and say yes and yes and yes, then you better show up and do the right thing, and speak your voice. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. I mean, because once again, it comes down to communication. And also having that confidence, because being on set, it really is a performance. You've got all these people around watching you. The client is there. There's a lot of high expectations. So no, that's great, man, that you've got to that stage where you really have that confidence to be like, no, trust me. Like you've hired me for this. Yeah. Like it's going to work out if we go about it this way. So what was the deliverables for the Reebok shoot? Like how many photos? Were you doing photos and a little bit of video for this one?
No, just photos. I volunteered to also bring my medium format camera, because I primarily shoot on that.
Oh, nice.
And for me, that's more of like, there's so many photographers, right? But I feel like if you can bring that like 1%, like this is me. You know what I mean? Like if I didn't bring that, then I feel like you're just hiring another photographer. Probably could take the same shots, but I just wanted to like, hey, this is me. Like I'm mostly a film guy. These are the shots. Don't even have to pay for it. Whatever. Like this is on me. So yeah, I sent them the rolls like way past the delivery date, because that was a complimentary thing, and I sent it to them, and they did post some.
Nice.
Like, and that's cool. They didn't have to, but that's cool. And I posted on my own. That was mainly what I wanted to do it for, is like show people, hey, you can shoot like a fashion campaign on film. This is what it might look like. But for me, it's more like the character of film that I really love. And the colors that you can get just can't be replicated. Like the textures you get cannot be replicated. So when I shot it on there, I shot like maybe one roll, not even more than that, because we just were limited on time. And then when I got the photos back, I was like, yeah, damn, this is sick. And they loved it too. So, sorry, what was your question again? I totally blanked out. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's all right. Well, just on that subject, what film camera and film were you using?
I was using either Lomo 800 or Portrait 800. I can't remember. One of the 800 stocks. And my medium format camera is the Pentax 6.7.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool, man. I mean, look, just to continue on with that, I'd be curious to hear from your perspective. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of photographers out there now. How do you personally go about being different? Like you've got the film element in there, but what else can you do nowadays to be a little bit different? Because majority of people have access to the latest Sony or Canon.
Yeah, man.
What are you trying to do to add that like Simon Kim flavor and be like, hey, I'm the guy because I do X, Y, and Z?
I think it's service. Like, I don't know, it's hard. Like, there's definitely two things. One's service and one is taste. I think taste is like, you can't learn from tomorrow. Like you can't there's no book about taste. I think what I love to use as a analogy or as another parallel universe from our industry is the cooking industry. Like the reason why you'd go to maybe a 40-year-old grandma that's been doing one dish for the rest of her life isn't because she's been learning that same skill for 40 years. It's because she's got character and taste, right? As opposed to like a Michelin chef who's really, really good and say he learns how to make that dish in one day. Yeah, it might be really good, but it won't have that like depth. It won't have that like same feeling. I feel like taste is a grown skill, and it's a grown thing that comes with time. You can't rush it. To say that I have taste, I don't know. That's on people for me to judge. I'm not going to make that judgment. But what I will have pride on is like having good service, having really good communication, prior, during, and after, and maintaining that relationship. Because, man, you don't know what people are up to. Like, say hypothetically, like you're an owner of a clothing brand, and I shoot for you, and say, you know, like I follow you on Instagram and stuff and keep up to date with you. What if I didn't keep up to date with you and I didn't know that you dropped out of that business 2 years ago and you're studying a different avenue and you might have been looking for a photographer? But if I kept in contact with you, I might have been still with you. Now, I'm not saying you should be like doing that to approach and keep going for money in business, but it's more that relationship and like staying in bond, you know, like depending on the person, I'll still have coffees and maybe a drink with people because I really like them. I don't care what you do, you know, but like people change avenues all the time. So I think it's really healthy to maintain those bonds and those relationships.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. So just going back to the Reebok shoot.
Yeah.
When it comes to managing client expectations, because like you said, you've got, what was it, 2 days turnaround?
Yeah, it was like 2 days, yeah.
So I know I've done projects where clients, you know, they tend to ask for a little more than what was in the initial brief.
Oh, yeah, that was us too.
Yeah. So, yeah, how do you go about managing those expectations? You know, when a client has said, okay, this is what we want for the shoot, and then you get there and they're adding a little more extra in there, or, you know, like, yeah, how do you approach those situations?
Yeah. Well, I think what the good thing is that the people I'm dealing with at Reebok are like great people. So they're not you know, they're not nasty people that's like asking for more, not willing to pay for what they're asking for. And anyone that is, you know, it's up to you to make your stand and be like, all right, well, if you want more, then you got to pay more. It's the same thing as like, you don't go to a restaurant, ask for another coffee and get expected for free.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So like, if you have your services outlined prior, well, I think that's the most important thing is that prior, and I'm learning this even this year, is knowing what to ask and how to ask it and when to ask it. You don't just go during a shoot and being like, oh, what are we doing today? Like, oh, what's the deliverables again? Like, you know, do the due diligence to do it beforehand and ask a bunch of questions. Because you just don't want to, I guess, kick yourself in the ass later down the track. Be like, damn, that's $1,000 I could have made just because I didn't ask that question. So I guess client expectations, it's yeah, for one thing, communication, and outlining it really clear. Like on the relationship tip, it's really good to be friendly and obviously like maintain that friendly nature. Because during the shoot, it's supposed to be fun. Like obviously we're working, but it should be fun because you want to hire them again. Like for in their eyes, like I want to hire like Simon again. But like, yeah, sure, he shot it, but he wasn't very fun. So I think maintaining that fun behavior is good, but also the professionalism side is just putting down boundaries like prior in pre-production. Like, hey, this is a contract of like what to expect when you're dealing with me. These are the due dates. This is how all this and this works. This is when the invoice is due. You won't ever expect any deliverables until this is paid for. This is when so-and-so is going to be delivered and whatnot. All those sort of things have to be signed off, ticked. Let me see the signature before we even start shooting, before we even touch the camera. So that way, you know, it's like on set, everyone knows what we're doing. And it's not like a wishy-washy kind of like, on the shoot. Like, oh yeah, so when are we getting those deliverables again? Oh, I don't know, like maybe next week, or I don't know, like whenever you guys want to pay me. Oh, I don't know, like our business turnaround's only 30 days. Oh, what, 30 days? I didn't know. So like, that communication has to happen prior. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an interesting conversation, the money side, because people are always, it's such an awkward conversation to have, but it can cause a lot of problems, like you say, if you're not clear and have that communication aspect to it. So do you do a contract before every shoot with a client, and you outline all those elements that you just mentioned?
Yeah, like so say if you approach me, I kind of would hear you out and listen to what you're looking for, and then essentially say, look, I won't provide you a quote. Well, I can provide you a rough quote, and then once you're happy with that and greenlit, that doesn't mean you're like you've locked me down. For you to essentially get me and whatever crew I need for those dates and times and those services, you need to pay a deposit. Whether you're a freelancer or not, like, I think people should realize that, like, these jobs and like even myself, I'm very replaceable, and like anything can just happen. So that kind of security is essential for you. Like I had a shoot this year where the shoot had to be delayed about a month and a half because the director of that shoot had to go overseas. But it was fine because on her end, she secured because she paid me the 50%, and we both signed a contract knowing that she's got me. I got paid 50% knowing that like I've been paid already and I can expect that remainder once the project's done. So there's security on both ends. So it's kind of giving peace of mind for both parties, right? And outlining in that service agreement saying that like exactly when you can expect to have these deliverables, have a look through it. If that doesn't work for you, then talk to me. But to this stage, I haven't had anyone back out. I think it's like when you receive that, it's like, oh, cool. These are the terms and conditions of working with this particular person. Like, I'm going to respect that. If I have something to say and I have a concern, then I'll raise that. But I think they can respect that you've set that boundary and you've said, this is what it's going to take to work with me. Sign it. Once you've signed it and paid the deposit, you've got me. And for them, it's like, especially if it's like a really rush shoot, or if it's just like, nah, I really want this person, want this shoot, they're going to sign it. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, this is great, man. So say for someone who's watching this and they're like, oh, okay, so I need a contract. Where do I get a contract? Like, is there a template that I can download from the internet?
Yeah,
do I need to get a lawyer? Do I need to get a lawyer? Do I ask ChatGPT? How do I go about it? Or how did you go about it?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. Like, for me, luckily, my partner was on client side and agency side before she went freelance. So I was lucky for her to be able to kind of like, she had an agreement template already. She had one already made. So she kind of passed that on to me and gave me some really good guidelines and kind of like tailor that for my business. But that's not helpful advice. So I definitely also looked at a friend of mine recommended me, oh man, I can't remember the website, but it was another Melbourne photographer. He was a commercial photographer, and he had on a part of his website kind of like the terminology and glossary of terms you should use. So even saying like things like point of sale, like POS, it's kind of just saying anything that's going to be in your storefront or it's going to be on your page that people are going to click on and pay for. Those kind of terminology is also really helpful. But yeah, it's not great advice, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lawyer would definitely be helpful who's in the entertainment industry, I would assume. And I probably wouldn't go about using ChatGPT because it's pretty general language, which I mean, I guess is okay. But I think something to tailor specifically for you. I definitely went in there and wrote a lot of paragraphs just for me myself in a professional language, just to make it a bit more personal. Yeah, because like I wouldn't go about copy pasting just whatever's on the internet, because what you're running is definitely going to be different.
Definitely. And have you looked into, because this is another thing a lot of people don't talk about and don't understand as well, is that let's say you do a shoot for Reebok and then it ends up on a great big billboard or a tram or a train or something like that.
Yeah.
Have you looked into that aspect as well? Have you got any of that in your...
Yeah, I mean, like, again, that's the pre-production questions, like, where is it going to be seen and where's it going to be shown? for how long and how many stores and that sort of thing, and like, is it going to be paid ads or is it organic, and those sort of things. And even at the time I was really confused on how do I price that. So I kind of, you know, consulted a lot of mates who have been in that position before, and they said, look, at this stage, like where you are now, try this flat fee and see how you go about that. And that seemed okay. So yeah, it was kind of just testing it out. And I think because that was my first time of experience like an exclusive license situation, and where things are actually going to be in a flagship store. I don't know if the method I went about was correct or not. It did work. So I know for the next one, I can kind of tailor it and tinker it and see, oh, I could charge a little bit more because maybe that was a bit too low, or, you know, like that sort of thing. So, but yeah, I think we've spoken to a few mates where they've had photographs been blown up on posters with them not knowing about it, and, you know, being apprehensive on whether to say something or not.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing too.
And then at that stage, it could be already too late because they didn't sign anything. Then, you know, it's so that's why it is really important to make sure you ask, no matter who the business is, where is it going, and make them sign off on it, because you want that security, because that could be like a couple of grand you're missing out on.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of mates that they had a friend, they assisted on a shoot who was a photographer that was shooting for the Women's World Cup. And I can't remember if they were shooting for Nike or it was a big brand. They got paid like a decent fee for the actual shoot, but because then the photographs got posted on billboards and signage like literally all over the world, they made huge money like off the licensing. So it's like once you get to that stage where you're shooting for bigger brands and you know, corporate companies, it's so important to understand that side of it too, because a lot of these guys can also take you for a bit of a ride. If they, like, you might be an incredible photographer or videographer, but if you're not aware sometimes of what you should be charging, like you say, you can really be losing out on a lot of money.
I think it's also important to say, like, pick your battles. Like, not every client is gonna, if they hear usage fee or whatever, or like extra fees on top of like the service they're paying, they're like, whoa, bro, like, I don't know, like, because I get it too. Like, if I was on the other end, right, if I'm a bar, I just want a photographer there to shoot the photos. You know what I mean? Like, I don't worry about usage fees, or like, no, I'm not paying for the ads and whatnot. So it's also kind of like understanding
like how big the business is, and
and also just like the conversations you have with a person prior. It's kind of also understanding like the vibe, I guess. like knowing like, is it okay here to ask those kind of questions? And it's also how you communicate that. But yeah, there are going to be times where, you know, some industries are just not going to want to hear that extra fee. Like, you're here to shoot photos, like, just go shoot the photos type of thing. So yeah, it's also about picking your battles a little bit.
Definitely. Oh no, I've had that happen a lot of times, and particularly sometimes there's clients that I know that they've got a lot of money and they come from a really big company, and then I'm like, oh yeah, there's these added fees, blah, blah, blah. And they freak out and don't want to do the shoot anymore. And you're just like, okay. So, I mean, there's going to be those instances where you win some, you lose some. But I think getting on the phone and having like a conversation or a Zoom call really helps the process. Yeah,
for sure. Absolutely. Phone call always really helps. In person if you can. Obviously, if you know there's like a big brand out there, man, people have money.
Yeah.
They have like their allocated budget for the quarter or the half of the year, whatever. But they got the money, but it's you using negotiation and communication skills to convince them to be like, you should pay for this because X, Y, and Z, not just, hey, pay me, you know, like you got to walk them through it, you know, because I think like clients don't know what exactly they want, but also like it might be their first time hiring a photographer. Like for them, it's also scary. So I don't think photographers should just walk in everywhere thinking they should just be paid for everything. Like you got to walk them through it. Like they might not know what this industry is. So yeah, I think it's just important also educating people. Like, for example, there's been a childcare I had to work with. They're not going to know what X, Y, and Z it is for working with a photographer. So it's important to walk them through it in a very non-egotistical way and say, hey, these are the processes. This is what you could add on. This is how you could take things away. I think they really appreciate that, and they might look out for you for the next job because you've done the 1% more in communicating that.
That was great, man. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Now let's get into the YouTube side of things.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm super excited to hear about your journey. So firstly, why did you get into YouTube? Because it's a space where, you know, a lot of creatives I feel could get into YouTube and do really well on YouTube, but they don't venture into it. Why did you get into YouTube?
I actually made an account like when I was like in like 2016, 2017, when I was like just going to holiday like in Japan or like Korea, and you know, like I just had the camera on me and I really liked filming stuff. At that time when Instagram posts were big and more, that period where people were doing a lot of GoPro travel videos, and a lot more like DSLR travel videos, like back in those days. Like I was traveling, I was like, yeah, cool. I'll make, I guess, like our version of postcards, I guess. Yeah. Just like, I'll just like get up these snippets and stuff. And then I was obviously really anxious and shy facing the camera to myself. Like it's a really unnatural thing to do. Like it's really weird. So, but I found it really fun, more so because I got to show, you know, my friends back home, my family, what I was getting up to. That was more just it. That was it. But I wasn't traveling heaps around then, so it was pretty short-lived. But yeah, it was, you know, and I had a really cool group of photographer friends of mine back home, and we were hanging out a lot. So it was cool just to kind of like vlog that journey and like just us hanging out, and it's for us to watch. I don't care about, you know, so-and-so across the world looking at it, like the views and the subscriber count, like who cares, right? Like it's such a big world out there. So for us, it was really cool just to watch those memories back. And then the reason I started like 2-3 months ago was because when I went full-time freelance, like living at a home full-time freelance beginning this year, like at first obviously it was a real struggle, but like I had things going on and I had a really busy week and I was preparing for an exhibition. I just thought, this would be cool to like kind of document, you know. If people want to watch it, that's cool. But if no one watches it, that's also cool too. Like I could just show my friends and my family and myself like this journey, right? Because I didn't have anyone actually shoot the event, which I kind of regretted, you know. So
it's always a funny way, right? A photographer and videographer.
Yeah, and all my mates are photographers, videographers too. So I didn't want to ask them. Yeah. So, but that's kind of how it started, because I had this lead up to the exhibition. So I kind of wanted to document that and journey that. So that's kind of how it started. But also the B side of that was I enjoy vlogging. I've always enjoyed YouTube. I grew up watching Casey Neistat, and I really enjoyed like documenting your life. So, and it really is like a visual diary you can go back to and watch long form videos and enjoy and like watch it on TV. You don't do that with TikTok. TikTok's like it's a scrolling thing.
One and done.
Yeah. So for me that was really enjoyable. So yeah, I kind of fell back into just doing that and whatever interested me. So yeah.
Well, because that first video, I think it's over 10,000 views now. Like that's
that was weird.
Yeah, that's blown up, because 10,000 views on YouTube is like the equivalent of, you know, 100,000 on TikTok, or 100,000 on, or probably 100,000 on Instagram, because it's so hard to hit that 10,000 mark. So did you have plans on doing a second video after that, or you just started getting all this like interest and traction from that first video and you went, oh shit, there's something here?
I think it was like 3-4 weeks before my exhibition date. So I did have like I'll do a freelancer vlog in Melbourne kind of thing and show bits of my exhibition. Do another one where it's kind of similar to that, but prepping more and showing more of like what the process is. The climbing of views was weird. Like I had barely any subscribers. But I think and I'm completely just like I don't even know if this is what it is, but the algorithm must have picked up on the weak freelance and Melbourne keywords and just pushed it out to the algorithm, because a lot of the comments I was getting was, the algorithm sent me here, the algorithm sent me here.
Oh, nice.
So I think that's kind of what it was. And I pushed it on Instagram Reels a little bit, not like paid ads, but I just made a teaser. And I think a lot of people from there, because Instagram Reels really pushes out to the rest of the world, that really pushed people over. But I don't know how else to explain it. It was weird, because the next few videos didn't get 10K views. So the drop in that was like, yeah, okay, cool. Like this makes more sense. Yeah.
And so, I mean, where's the journey at now? Because you've done those first, how many videos is it? Like 8 videos roughly?
Yeah, maybe roughly 7, 8. Yeah.
Yeah. And so is the plan now to create a YouTube episode every week? And are you really pushing for the YouTube side of things?
And
Or
I
is
already missed out last week and I missed out this week, so I can say for sure consistency is not my friend. You know what I mean? I really respect people who can do weekly vlogs. I guess it's like it's a like to the people who work corporate and they're trying to do a creative hustle. It's really hard when you're focused and you're trying to divide your life into doing so many different things, and it's really hard to focus on one thing. And I really want to do YouTube well, but I feel like I have to put 100% in there, and right now it's like 70, which is fine because for me right now it's just diary. Like I don't have much concern on being famous on YouTube because in the long-term goal, that's not really what I'm looking for. If I get paid doing YouTube, that's amazing. That's great. That's like a, beeline income. That's great. But for me, it's recording moments, having a visual diary and just enjoying it. If it does well, that's great. But because that's not my main kind of headline goal, it's not really, it's not really there in the stars for me.
So say for someone that's watching this and they haven't seen any of your YouTube videos, how would you describe the style that you're creating?
That's hard, eh? I feel like it's hard to describe one's own style because you kind of just make whatever you like. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's easier for people to look at my videos and think whatever style they want to do, and that's cool. I think what you can expect, like if you come to my YouTube videos, it's just things that I'm interested in. So, I love food. I love being creative, and I love hanging out with my friends. So that's probably what you're going to see. And if you're interested in how a freelancer lives in Melbourne or what they get up to, I feel like that's kind of like what you can expect. Right now, that's what all the vlogs have been. But I have been wanting to like tap into things that interest me in like film photography or like, just passion projects and get what I get up to there. I wouldn't want to delve into tutorials because I feel like that's another different beast, and I feel like those are proper YouTube channels dedicated for that. But yeah, at the moment, that's kind of where it's at.
And how are you tackling, I guess, like the perfection side of creating YouTube videos? Because, when you do campaigns and you're used to, every shot being just cinematic and well thought out, and then you get to YouTube and you're making, 8, 10, 12-minute videos.
Yeah.
How are you, managing that side of things?
Well, I mean, not gonna lie, bro, like the way that Casey Neistat did his vlogs, like I was very inspired when I was 15, 16. It's just the best camera you have is the one you have on you, and you kind of just like take it, record it, do what you want with it. And for me, that kind of style of moving with the camera was very, I don't know, it kind of related to me a lot. And growing up with that never really left. So I really enjoy that side. Like I'm not just like a solely arty-farty cinematic person. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I have these different alter egos that I can kind of go to, and YouTube is kind of my safe space for that, where I can be in front of the camera. I can be quite honest and candid to my own self. You'll see me on a different side. Like on my work page on Instagram, you don't see any photos of me because that's what I want to be hired for. But on YouTube, it's kind of just a safe creative space where, I don't know, I can just be me and then just record shit that I'm interested in and what I'm getting up to. So that's kind of why I went on to YouTube as well, is where I can just be this different person, but it's different person to what I'm like portraying on my Instagram, but it's still me. It's very much more of me. Yeah.
And what camera are you using, like predominantly on YouTube to film yourself in the vlogs?
Back then it was a Canon 700D, and then the first cinema camera I had was the first like original Blackmagic Pocket 6K, and then I had that all the way up until beginning of this year, and then so I had that for a long time, and then when I finally decided to upgrade to Sony, I went and got the FX3. Nice. The reason for that was purely on just like versatility. I can take it vlogging. So I took it to Korea and Philippines. It was lightweight, did everything I needed to do. And then I can build it up and use it for client projects.
Yeah, the FX3 is a beauty. We've got...
Yeah, man, it's good. It's so good. Like, it's so versatile. And like the FX6 is great. If I didn't vlog, I probably would have bought that. But because of how small you can put that into just your backpack, like, yeah, it was just the better choice.
Now, we touched on this off camera before the interview. you're talking about the YouTube community and how people love collaborating in that space.
Yeah.
How have you found that?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is very much personal to me, and just what like I went through. But perfect example, when in the Philippines, we hit up this like 2 YouTubers, like in a different country, hitting up people to meet up for like a coffee or even a drink. It's quite daunting, and like most of the time, you're not really going to be received with warm, welcoming arms. Aside from the fact, what I found in the YouTube community is if you're doing YouTube and you're from a different country, fuck it, let's get a coffee, let's go get drinks, like whatever, like let's meet up, because we kind of gone through this like unified hustle of making it through YouTube, and you already have that commonality. So that's already like a chatting point you can talk about for hours. Whereas maybe if you're in different departments of the filmmaking community, it's a little bit more apprehension. That's not to say that's everyone, but I feel like there's a little bit more there, and it's a little bit hard to crack the nut there. Yeah.
And in terms of, say, your mates that are in the industry in Melbourne or around Australia, are there many people doing YouTube, or is there a reason why they aren't doing YouTube?
Well, I won't speak for them yet, but I reckon like maybe I'll say the reasons why I might not do YouTube is, I guess, because I don't know. I think from client side, their perspective, which I can kind of understand, is that like, do I want to hire a quote unquote professional filmmaker, or do I want to hire a filmmaker who's also doing YouTube? Because for me as client side, it's like, oh, what are they? Which are they? Like, what am I hiring for? You know, and that can get quite confusing. Because from a business side, you want to get the best of the best, and the person that's doing that one thing and that's doing it really well. That's not to say that's everyone, but I assume that could be a perspective. I know some people is also like, they have the dream of wanting to do YouTube. Like, you ask anyone who's in the space, oh, you should do YouTube, you'd be really great. Oh, yeah, man, I really want to do YouTube. Yeah. Like, I really want to do that and that. But it's hard. Like, you got to dedicate so much time for it. It's a full business. People make a living off it. So it's also something you can't just do. And because if you just do it, you might just fall behind on it, and you might just try it, and then it would just become a forgotten memory. So that's also another perspective. But also, like, people also could just be really busy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be interested to know, like, with YouTube, since you've been doing the vlogs, do you find that you're getting more DMs and people feel like they know you a little bit more now, and you're getting a bit more of like a personal interaction from your viewers than prior to that?
There's definitely been a lot of like comments, or like getting a lot more Instagram support and messages from people who've watched the videos, which is awesome. Like, it's like a happy circumstance that kind of leads to the Instagram, and then they can see that. But for them, messaging me, because it's another person, you know, it's like a stranger. Like, the recent video I did in Philippines, I received so much love from Philippines. I think they love seeing other people's perspectives in their country. It was so wholesome. So they were able to like message me, and I felt comfortable talking to them, because it's like, hell yeah, your country is awesome. Thank you. Thank you for watching the video, and thank you for supporting me. Because as cliche as it sounds, if no one's watching your video, like, you know, like, it's not like you're not successful, but it's also they're the ones supporting you. They're the ones that are making your channel. So you can only just show support and love back. Yeah. So yeah, definitely appreciate any love that comes through.
I mean, because a lot of work goes into each episode. So if you're only getting like 30 views, you're kind of like, what was the point? So the fact that you've got that traction, I think that Philippines video is what, 10,000?
Yeah, that's a testament to the Philippines for sure. That's a testament to the Philippines, because I was really apprehensive about posting that anyway, because for me, I found it fun. Like, it was cool to watch with like family and stuff, but I was like, oh, is this really interesting? Like, I don't know. And then I posted it, and the love I got from the Philippines, man, shout out to the Philippines for real.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so let's get into the social media side of things. What's your relationship like with social media? Because, you know, I know for a lot of creatives, we're already busy making a lot of content for clients and other people. How do you feel about, you know, posting on Instagram and TikTok and these type of things?
I don't know. It's a tool, right? It's a tool. Like Instagram, like as long as social media is around, like, there's gonna be like toxic things that happen, that like you're just gonna be in a scrolling motion, and I do that as well. Like, I think I use TikTok literally as like a substitution for what Vine was. So I kind of just scroll and just look at funny shit, but I don't really use it as a platform for my business. I utilize Instagram for that. So I purely use and see these platforms as tools, which they are. I see them as like, Instagram is purely a business tool. That's how I get my networks. That's how I reach out for networks. That's how I post my work. That's how I see other references for work. That's how I make my money, right? YouTube is a place where I can chillax, post my own vlogs, watch other vlogs. I use TikTok to kind of just scroll and, I don't know, just brain rot a little bit. But yeah, I don't really believe in like, switch off Instagram and then like detoxify. I don't think that's how it works. Like that's like saying like, yeah, if you just stop drinking for 6 months, you're no longer an alcoholic. Like, nah, that's not how it works. Like, it's your own internal attitude and behavior on how you approach it. If you're already addicted to something, just because you stop doing it for like 6 or so months doesn't mean you're like a completely brand new, perfect clean person. You have to go through your own therapeutic steps to be better, and learn about yourself a bit more to maybe understanding why you're going back to that same place, and why you're addicted to social media. Maybe it's not social media. Maybe it's you.
Totally.
You know what
I
I mean?
agree. And what about, say, trends, on TikTok or Instagram or even YouTube?
Yeah.
Like, do you try and stay up to date with those and, incorporate your work into that? Or do you try and avoid those?
They definitely like put me off for sure. And I think people forget like there is someone that makes the trend and then they go start another trend. A trend is like daily. It has an expiry date of 24 hours. So I don't see any other point of hopping on trend unless you want to show your own personality through that. It's kind of like, oh, cool, he shot that in black and white. Let me try that and do it in my own spin. But if you're doing it exactly copy paste, what's the point, right? Like you're just copying what someone else is doing. It's not hopping on a trend. Why don't you start another trend instead of copying someone else's? And I don't know if you've ever should go out with the intention to let's make a trend today. Maybe it should just be about let's make something cool today. And if it ends up being a trend, that's cool, because then that means the attitude you're building is not very sustainable. You're always chasing for high view count, high traffic count. Whereas if you're always just sticking to what makes you laugh and what is fun and enjoyable for you and your friends, then that's going to last forever. And that's way more sustainable. Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, it's such a interesting time now, isn't it? Like when you're trying to manage all these side of things is so hard. Like marketing yourself on social media, meeting all the deadlines for your clients, and then having your own time to, hang out with friends or family and go to the gym and do all those things. It's really just trying to. Is that what you do? Like you try and pick which ones you're going to hone in on, or are you like the fact that you've gone into YouTube and you're experimenting a little bit there? Have you got a lot of intention with the things that you're doing?
Yeah, I believe. I'm a big believer in intention, and I think that's why I put off YouTube for so long. Is because I didn't want to be distracted. Like, I think I made an early decision when I was younger to like, if you want to do something really well, like I want to put 110% attention and focus into that. So I don't know, I stopped playing video games. I wasn't going out as much, and that's why I spent a lot of my 18, 19, 20-year-old times. Obviously, I was still going out, do whatever, but I spent a lot of that time, weekends, doing jobs and whatnot, because I wanted to be good at it. I believe in anyone that if you have the will, you will go do it, and that's why, bit of a side tangent, but like at school, if you're getting lectured on all these different subjects, you don't want to do it because someone's telling you to do it. But later down the track, when you're like 40, you're all of a sudden interested in doing maths because you're your own will, right? So if you're interested in doing it, you will go out and do it. I believe that, and will take you into the direction you have. So because I've had the will of wanting to do this really well, I wanted to just pay my attention to it. Then recently when YouTube became a thing, I wanted to, do that really, really well. But I realized that YouTube for me isn't the main attention. So I should put 70% of effort into that, and that's okay for me. And I think finding that satisfaction level is like really important. You can't put 100% into this and 100% into that. It's just not how your body and your mind work. But if you can if you can allocate that time into knowing like what works for you, then I think that's really important. And I think that's going to be way more sustainable than trying to put everything and anything into this and this and this. Because I've tried that, and that just leads to burnout. Yeah. And you can't have more than one burnout. Otherwise, nah.
No, very true. All right, well, let's get into camera gear. I know a lot of people would be really curious about. I know we've touched on it a little bit, but from your perspective, how important is camera gear? Say when you're doing a shoot for Reebok or a fashion shoot and you're doing portraits. How important is the camera gear to you?
Like, if it works, it works. I've been very guilty of almost every other day looking at reels and YouTube, like, oh, should I get that new gear? Like, that looks cool. It's not that bad. It's not that bad of a price. Maybe we should get it. But like, what's the point if you've already got a camera that works? And I think that's why I held on to this like original Blackmagic 6K camera for a while. Like the original one at the time, specs were amazing, but comparable to now, it sucks. Like terrible in low light, no autofocus, no internal ND. Really, for me personally, the design body form factor is quite difficult ergonomically, but it works. So, and it made good visuals, and it made sense for the projects I was doing. So I just kept doing that, and I've had one lens my entire career. I still only have one lens.
Oh, which one's that?
24-70.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I have two lenses now, two other more lenses, to facilitate just like spectrum of work. But yeah, I solely believe if the gear you have on you works, then it works. And I think before you purchase anything, you should kind of ask yourself, like, is this going to make me a better fill in the gap? Like, is it going to be a better photographer, or is it going to be a better cinematographer? And like, I'm not better than anyone. I'm not going to lecture you into, I do the same thing. I ask myself, is this new lens going to make me a better cinematographer? Definitely not. But what's the justification in purchasing so-and-so? Because camera shit's expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't just be out here wanting everything. Like, and especially nowadays, the turnover for new gear is so fast. What's the point in buying? It's like iPhones. Like, what's the point of buying a new iPhone every year? If it's going to be a new one the next year, and it's only small adjustments.
Yeah, I can't keep up with all the new cameras that are coming out from Sony and Canon. It feels like every 3 months.
Yeah, and I think it's great for anyone that's starting in this space now, because you have such a plethora and spectrum of different range of gear for the content creators, and within content creators there are different types of content creators too. So there's so much facilitation for these different kind of people. But if you've got something that works and no client is complaining about what you have, and they're still paying you for the same project and different projects, and other clients are still hiring you, what's the point of buying a better camera? You might as well keep the same one you have, save a bit more money, and invest it into, I don't know, maybe workshops or courses that's actually going to, improve your knowledge about things. Yeah.
And what about film? I know we touched on film a little bit before, but what film cameras have you got?
I've got way too many. I've got
that's the addiction.
Yeah, film cameras. The addiction started like with my first film camera that my granddad gave me. He gave me his one he shot when my dad was growing up. So when I was in Korea, like, he showed me this photo album, and he showed me the camera that he took it all on.
Oh, nice.
Damn, that's so cool. Like, and this was back in like 2018. So when like film was getting really popular, like in the YouTube space, like Willem Verberg and like Negative Feedback, those guys were really running film content, which is great. It's really opened the space up to the growing film community. So the addiction kind of started there because I really liked the mechanics of it and the process. And the reason why it was important, another tangent, the reason why it was important at that time is because I was going through my first really bad burnout, and I hated everything about the industry. I didn't want to touch it, but I still wanted to take photos. So it kind of took me back in time, learning this process, going really mechanical, and having to be patient, knowing that you have to put intention into every single shot because it costs money. And you got to wait for like a week or two to like get back your shots, being humbled by the fact that not every shot is perfect. Almost every shot kind of sucks. And it's kind of the universe telling you, yeah, okay, you're not perfect. These shots are not perfect, but you can get there. Just practice. So it was a different avenue of photography that I found really, really enjoyable. So, yeah, to answer your question, sorry, like the first one I had was like a Minolta SRT, like a manual SLR film camera.
That was from your grandfather?
Yeah. And then from there I bought a digital point and shoot Now it's way too expensive, but at the time it wasn't too bad. It was Contax T2.
Oh yeah, they're crazy expensive now.
Yeah, way too expensive. And then around that time, I wanted to get into medium format, and it was when Willem Verbeek released his video on the Mamiya 645. It was the first time I've seen that, and in showing the size of the negative compared to a 35mm camera, and the like the kind of immersion you get from it. I was like, yeah, this is sick. So bought one from eBay, and yeah, played with that for like a year, and then I was like, found out that there's another step to medium format. You can go to 6.7, so it's a bigger negative, way better quality, and the grain size is really small, and the depth and immersion and texture and the kind of 3D feeling you get from these photographs is amazing. So I bought a 6.7 from there. I didn't really like the build of it. It was the RB 6.7.
Oh yeah, because they're quite big and heavy, aren't they?
Really big and heavy, and I move quite quickly, and I like to be quite nimble. So I heard about the Pentax 6.7, the one with the wooden handle. I got that for a pretty decent price after selling my other one, and then yeah, I've had that since for quite some time. Probably the last film camera, the most recent one, maybe like a year ago, was a very, very privileged position to receive a Leica. So
Damn, which one?
Is an M2.
Oh
So
man.
like, I know nothing about Leicas, but obviously I know they have a prestige, excellence in the industry. But the only reason it came about because my granddad's son, so my uncle, he had one. He's from the States, and he was visiting, and he happened to have one that he's had for years, and he's just never really used it. So
Damn, that's pretty epic.
Because I'm like the only photographer in the entire family. He was like, yeah, here you go.
Oh, so he just gave it to you?
He just gave it to me. So
man.
yeah, so, and it's an absolute workhorse. I've taken it to all my trips, and it's a rangefinder for the first. I've never used a rangefinder, so
nice.
it's quite difficult to kind of like use if you're not used to it. But yeah, it's really enjoyable.
Really slows you down, and
Man, I don't know how in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s how these street photographer gods were using mechanical cameras and working so fast and getting such good photos.
Yeah, it's crazy right now with autofocus and everything. Like you look back at those days and you're like, so much respect for those dudes.
So that's what makes me question a lot of the time, like what excuse do people have? There's like, you have no excuse to go out there and shoot photos. If people back in those days were struggling to make new photographs, but they were doing it with what they had on them, like I think you got no excuse nowadays, especially with what we have.
Yeah,
definitely.
And so what are your plans for 2025? What are the goals for Simon Kim?
Shit, let's make them now. That's a good question. Staying healthy, hoping just staying healthy, man. Like I think health is really, really important, like we touched on. Like, you know, if you can't walk around and well, you just can't work, you know. Like for me, if you're not healthy, you can't work and like see your friends and live longer, and like just kind of like having a healthy mind and making sure you know, me and my partner live well, travel a lot more. I think I really want to make an effort to travel a lot more. I'm on the tip, I don't know if this is healthy or not, but I'm on the tip very much like you can gain money and make more money and lose money in a day. Like, you know, people lose and gain money every single day. I realize I talk about that from a privileged position of having a bit of money, but I know what it's like to also not have any money at all. Like I came to Melbourne with like $5,000 to my name, and then I lost all of it in like the first year because I had like just had no idea what I was doing. But from doing that, I also realized that like money comes and goes here, and I'm not too stuck on like making millions right now, because I know I can kind of do that later down the track when the career keeps going. So right now, before I hit 30 and try and think about settling down, I want to like enjoy, you know, being in your 20s and just enjoy life. So yeah, the recent trip I had was just so much fun and just taking my mind off things. So definitely want to enjoy traveling more. And I feel like you learn more about yourself and about the world when you get to see different cultures. So traveling a lot more. I guess from a work front, pushing to get more DP roles, and working a lot more with friends. That'd be probably the most important goals I can think of.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, man, thanks so much for coming on the show today. It's been a really fascinating conversation. I'm looking forward to playing it back and taking a few notes myself.
Thanks, man.
And congratulations on, the career so far and the YouTube. I'm excited to see where the journey goes. And you're a very switched on fella. So a lot of success is coming your way, man, because you really understand. Obviously, we're always learning. That's the beauty about this industry. But you're one of the most switched on guys I've come across in the industry here. So I think a lot of exciting things coming your way.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate you even putting me on. Appreciate you even messaging me. Yeah, thank you so much. Like, it's very weird for me to be in this position because it's just like I don't think I'd have anyone wanting to be interested in doing, and I think I have so much more respect for other people that I think should be in where I am. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, and hopefully everyone enjoyed me yapping for so long. I feel like all I did was chat more than you.
No, it was good, man. Very interesting.
All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.